Hello there, and welcome to Triage, Trauma, and Drama. I'm your host, Matt, and let's dive right in. So, last week we had an interesting story about a lady who decided to scream a certain word because I was kicking her cat down the stairs. Hope you all enjoyed that. This week we're going to talk about triage. And triage, if you don't know, it's a French word. It means to sort. I know, I looked this up. But triage basically means it's when you come to, in an emergency setting, what it means is it's uh, to sort the sick from the not sick, right? The you're going to die right now as opposed to you're going to die in like 5 or 6 hours, or you're not sick enough to be in any emergency department. So that's what triage is. Now, where the facility I work at, it's a little bit different. We have a nurse or a paramedic that as soon as someone comes in the door, they automatically sort them into a red, yellow, or green category. Red obviously means right away. Yellow means sooner than later, and green means you can sit out in the waiting room for a while, and you're no immediate threat to like harm. You may be uncomfortable, but you're not actually going to probably die out there, right? Um, so we use this red, yellow, green, and that's how we know. That's the order we know to triage people in. That's this facility where I currently work now. Some of these stories come from facilities I've worked at in the past that I don't work at anymore. But they're still entertaining. And, one of my favorite ones was I was, again, in a city that's, not going to mention the city, but a fairly large metropolitan area. And I was triaging people. And I was going pretty good, pretty fast, getting through them, a lot of like cuts, scrapes, headaches, sniffly noses, things of that nature. Nothing that was too emergent, right? And I go out to the waiting room and I call a name, and this person comes walking up to me, and well, actually, I notice there are two people walking up to me, right? Not just what I assume is the patient, but someone else. And I check the patient, and they say, "Yep, that's me." I was like, "All right, come back with me." And there was another lady standing there who stops me and goes, "Like, we've been waiting for 2 hours." And I tell her, "I'm really sorry. That's not uncommon in an emergency room. Like, you might actually wait for several hours. Like, you just might. That just might be what you have to do." So I apologize profusely. I say, we'll get to you as soon as we can. I don't know where you are in the triage order because I'm not looking at my computer screen, or where you are in order to go back to room. But I promise you, we will get you triaged as soon as we can. And so I go back, bring the other person back to the triage room, the other patient back, get them triaged, send them back out to the waiting room, go back out, grab another person. And the lady comes walking up to me again. And I try really hard to practice my therapeutic communication and tell her, look, I'm really sorry. I know you're frustrated. I know you're upset. Like, we will get you back in triage as soon as we possibly can. But I've got to take this other person back now. So she gives me a very disgruntled face look, and she looks very pissed off, which I get it. It's frustrating. No one likes to wait, especially if you're uncomfortable, especially if you're in pain. So I bring this other patient back. I triage them. I send them back out to the waiting room. I go back out to grab the third one, which is still not her. I think there were like 18 or 19 people in the department at this time that hadn't been triaged yet. So there are quite a few people out there. So I go back to grab someone else who is not her. And she comes walking up to me again. And at this point, I'm like, look, ma'am, we'll call your name when we call your name. But you coming out here every 5 seconds, like, to talk to me, it's not making the situation any better. It's not going any faster. Like, just please have a seat. And she proceeds to tell me that I've been here for 2.5 hours. This is ridiculous. Like, I'm sick. I need to be seen. And I was like, okay, well, what are you here for? And she proceeds to tell me that she had a bloody nose that morning. And I was like, okay. And then she proceeds to tell me that she read on the internet, because, we all are WebMD people now, that could be a sign of cancer and a brain bleed. And so I was like, well, a lot of things could be signs of cancers. Let's not jump to that particular conclusion, but are you dizzy? Are you sick to your stomach? Are you nauseous? Are you any of those things? She's like, no. I'm like, well, then have a seat. We'll get you back to triage as soon as we can. So I pull this other patient back, triage them, and I send them back out to the waiting room. And as I'm walking back out to the waiting room, I see that she's on the phone. I'm thinking, okay, well, this is going to be one of two things. Either she has calling a news station or something, because it happened frequently in the city that I worked in, where we'd have people actually call a news station from the ER lobby because they weren't being seen fast enough, and they wanted a news crew down here to see how bad it was, and so on and so forth. And blah, 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 blah. Like, they would do that a lot. And we would just roll our eyes and we'd call our administrator on call and they would usually handle it. So as I'm getting ready to, be like, okay, well, I should probably call the administrator on call my charge. I hear her say, the lobby, she's sick, whatever. So, I'm going to ignore that. And as I'm walking out, she hangs up the phone. She turns to me and goes, well, I just called 911. I go, what? She said, I just called 911. I'm like, you called the emergency services from the lobby of the ER? She's like, yeah. It's like, okay. And she proceeds to walk out of the hospital. Now, the rules were, if you were outside the building, if you were outside our property, we had to call 911 to come get you. Like, even if I saw you pass out, we still had to call 911. Someone have to still physically call 911 to get you back into our doors. So she walks all the way through the parking lot to the end of the parking lot, and almost like a kid when you're like, don't touch that, and they're like, and they touch it anyway. She steps over the line onto what I know is not our property because it's the banks next door, stands there, crosses her arms, and smiles at me. And I'm thinking, oh, you bitch. You think that if you called 911, that you're immediately going to go back to the room, you're going to skip all of this gobbledygook out front, knowing full well that our back is full of, like, very sick patients, diabetics, I mean, stroke patients. We had like three MIs that night. So she's standing there, and I'm staring at her with this paperwork in my hand for the next person, and I was like, okay. And so I grab the next person back, triage them real quick, send them back to the waiting room. As I'm walking back out, I see the squad pull up in the parking lot next door, and I'm thinking, oh, my fucking God, this is going to be great. Wonderful, perfect. And I just happened to, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go back and tell the charge nurse what's going on. So I walk to the back, tell her what happened, and she, of course, rolls her eyes and just is, no one's in the mood for these kind of shenanigans tonight. It's stupid and ridiculous, and we're just like, fuck this is dumb. And so at that point, we hear them encode on the radio. Now, encoding means is when they call into the hospital and say, give us a report. And so they answer it, or so they encode, I answer it, and they tell me the patient symptoms, and my response to them was, patient's appropriate for triage, which means she gets sent right back to the lobby and goes right to the back of the line because she left the building. In the background, she must have heard me say that, because all you can hear in the background of this radio traffic is a bunch of swearing and then let me out of this goddamn ambulance, fuck you, fuck them, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this. Like, that's all you hear in the back. That's all you actually hear in the back of this. Like, I can hear her saying all these things. And so the medic, it's like, understood, we'll be there in 30 seconds. And I say, okay, clear. And no sooner do I walk back out to the front that they're bringing in through the doors, not even on a stretcher. She's just walking. And I stop and she looks at me and she goes, you must think you're pretty fucking clever. I go, this is not on me. You were in the waiting room. You were like 2 people from being triaged, 3 people from being triaged probably. And the time you've left, like 2 more people walked in. And if you leave the building, then you go to the back of the line. That's just the way it works. You go to the back of the line. She proceeds to flip me off. I send her back to the waiting room. She gets put at the very back of the line. And from that point on, every time I walked back out to the waiting room to grab someone else that was not her, she flipped me off. Now, luckily, before I got to triage her, assignment switched. So I got to going back. And someone else got to deal with her pleasant little face. But it was funny because the assumption is, and I think the assumption a lot of time is, if you get brought in my ambulance, you get to go right to a room and back. That's not always how it works. Like, if we're full, then you're going to send and if you're stable, then you're going to get sent to the lobby like everyone else. Just the way it works. Like, I know some people think that if I call an ambulance, then, I'm going to go right to the back. And no, that's not the way it works at all. That's not a thing that we do. Sorry. Need to burst your bubble. That one was really amusing just because the entirety of the ER could hear her swearing in the background of that report I was getting from the medic. So I found that pretty amusing. Another one that this is just hysterical is, this was at about a year ago, maybe about a year ago. It was about 11:30 at night, and again, I am in triage because that's where I live at night. I'm in triage. It's about 11:30 at night, and this family comes in with a 17-year-old that wants, needs a rabies shot. I'm like, oh crap, rabies! I hate rabies shots. You gotta do a lot of them. You gotta do them all around the wound, and it just sucks because it's not fun. And I bring them, and I don't even read the quick view nurse's note. I just bring them back to triage because it's 11:30 at night. There's not a lot of people there. I'm like, okay, we'll get you into triage, get you back to room, get it over with. And the kid walks in, jumps up on the bed. He's got his mom and his sister and his brother with him, some other family members. And I say, okay, what's our emergency this evening? And he says, I want checked for rabies. And I go, oh, did you get bit? He said, yeah. And I'm like, okay, where? And he's like, well, on my hand. Shows me his hands. And I was like, I don't see anything. I'm like, well, did it break skin? He goes, well, yeah. And I go, okay, where? And he's like, well, I don't know, maybe on this finger or this finger. I go, you don't remember what finger you got bit on? He's like, no, it's 5 years ago. And I was like, what? 5 years ago? You got bit 5 years ago by a bat and you want to know if you have rabies. He said, yeah. And I go, you don't. The mom finally looks up from her phone and goes, you don't know that? And I go, I do know that. You don't have rabies. And she's like, you don't know that. You're not the doctor. I'm like, nope. I really do know that because if you had rabies, you'd be dead. And she's like, no. There's got to be a test you can run for it. I'm like, he passed the test. He didn't die. That's the test. Did you get bit by something? You don't die. That's the test. You don't have rabies. Like, congratulations, you passed the test. You don't have rabies. And this mom just would not believe me. She's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I want to see a doctor. I'm like, I can let you see a doctor. That's fine. But I'm just trying to manage your expectations and the fact you don't have rabies. Like, I don't know a lot in this world. I am very knowledgeable about like Star Wars and Lego and Star Trek and medical stuff. Like, that's about and Superman. Very knowledgeable about Superman. But other than that, I don't have a lot of knowledge in this world. And that, like, I was like, I can tell you right now, you don't have rabies. And they just refuse to believe me. Like, there's this, and I was like, okay, that's fine. We'll send you to the back. But you can't even tell me what finger you were bit on. Like, and I looked at his hands, like, nope, I don't see any scars, nothing. So I send them to the back. I was like, all right, whatever, fine. I triage them and I make them the appropriate acuity level, and I send them to the back, and they go get sat down, and I'm just finishing typing my note because I'm finding this incredibly amusing. The doctor in back, however, not so amusing because he's now having to try to explain to this woman, excuse me, like I did, and her son, that you don't have rabies. You're not dead. Like, rabies is extremely lethal. Like, I guess there are those people that are immune to it, but that's very few and far between. Usually you get it, you die. That's the way it works. Like, that's just the way it works. So the fact that you didn't die means you don't have it. So yeah, I don't know if they ever actually drew anything for him. I don't remember. I was pieced out by the time he got discharged. I was gone. I went home. But triage can be real entertaining sometimes. It can also be incredibly stressful. Like, I don't find triage that stressful. It's repetitive, but I guess I don't find it that stressful. But it's one of those areas that I think people just either you kind of love it or you kind of hate it. And I think there's a lot of people that kind of hate it because it's repetitive and you have to deal with, stupidity over and 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 over again. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Hopefully this made you laugh and smile a little. Just a reminder to point out that you are enough. You will always be enough. Please take care of each other. Please take care of yourselves. And have a great rest of the week.